Prenuptial agreements. Oh my gosh, right? That's never a word that people want to hear, or at least it hasn't been. For some reason, prenups have got such a negative connotation tied to them when actually they can be one of the best decisions you could make before you get married. Nobody wants to go into a marriage assuming it's going to end, and unfortunately, that's how prenups have been framed. But my conversation in this episode with Deveney Wells-Gibson paints an entirely different picture of what prenups actually are and how they can benefit you in the long and short run in so many ways. So I am so excited to share this episode with all of you. Deveney is a family law attorney based in California. She is also known as the Prenup Queen because through her initial time as an attorney working with women who were going through divorces, she saw the same thing happen over and over and over again. So she is an expert in all things prenup and actually makes it sound like it's something you should really be doing. And after my conversation with her, I am in full agreement that every marriage should have a prenup. Take a listen, settle in, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks for coming back for another episode of the Scarlet Edit. So give us the spiel. How did you get into talking about prenups and why they are so, so important?
So I'm a product of divorce. My parents have divorced. I understand what it's like as a child growing up with, 2 Christmases, 2 Thanksgivings, and 2 birthdays situations. And even though that sounds great, right? 2 birthdays, 2 Christmases, what? Just the mental and emotional load that falls upon the child. And so because of that, I wanted it to make my mission to practice family law. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do divorces and custody battles and domestic violence restraining orders, but to have a focus on the kid. And even though I got into that situation, I was still representing the parents, not the child. So I still wasn't really doing my thing. But regardless, during my time through that, I just kept seeing the same theme happening with a lot of the women that I was representing. And a lot of the themes when it comes to divorce is women just not being as involved in the finances.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe because historically it has always been the man, because we couldn't have bank accounts, we couldn't have a mortgage, we couldn't do a lot of things without a man being involved. And even though things are starting to shift now where, now women are breadwinners, women own homes, women are coming into marriages with assets and things like that. Things are starting to shift, but I'm still seeing a lot of women who are considered the out spouse, meaning they have no idea their financial standing when it comes to a marriage. They're like, oh, we had this bill. I had no idea. Oh, we were in this much debt. I have to take half of that. I had no idea. Oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom and now I have to go back into the career force and I haven't worked in 10 years. It's just a shock to them, right? And so I got into Prenup Queen because I wanted to change that. Granted, I still have a focus on kids. Everything I do always has that trickle-down effect to kids, okay?
Yeah.
But a lot of my work in Prenup Queen is educating women on being involved with their finances. When I say that, I don't mean they have to be in the other person's spreadsheets. I'm not saying they have to be down to the nitty-gritty involved, but they have to at least know something, be a little bit involved, have your foot in it just a little bit to know what's going on. And I just want to encourage women and empower them to do so. Make sure they're having conversations with their spouse. And through the prenup process, this is why I love it. Although everyone thinks of prenups as oh, you're preparing for divorce, you think we're going to end. I use it instead to build a solid foundation for the marriage. So I use the prenup process to encourage those dialogues, right? Let's talk about our future. What is it that we're actually going to build? What is it that we actually want? And making sure both the woman and the other partner are on board with that, right? Because you want to make sure you're marrying someone that's going to go the same route you are. And so that's what I use the prenup process for.
No, I think this is so important. And I was so excited when we connected because, prenups have such a bad rap, right? I mean, you see it in TV shows, you see it in movies, you see oh my gosh, the man comes in and oh, here, can you just sign this? And then she's like, what? It's a prenup. And it's I look at it more of like this is protection. This is something where you know that you're going to be taken care of. You know there's not going to be these huge awful battles. And cuz that's another thing,
Mhm.
like I think so many people, and I mean it's probably a good thing, right? That as human beings we believe in the best in other people. We believe in
Yes,
love. We believe that if somebody loves us, they're never going to try to hurt us. But then you see and watch money just destroy families and
absolutely.
destroy lives. And yeah, so I think that it's really cool what you're doing. And I think it's so important to educate people on the value of those, especially,
Mhm.
why I wanted to bring you on my show is because my audience is a lot of women. My main demographic is women who are 35 to 60. So women in that age range, they've been through some shit. With the divorce rate above 50%, you know that most of these women have been through that. And so I think, especially for those of us who are out in the dating world and who are, considering like, hey, do I want to get married again? This is a really
Mhm.
relevant topic to discuss.
Absolutely. And honestly, and I love to tell people the person you divorce is not the same person you marry. You marry
Mhm.
someone and it is lovey-dovey, and you really can't fathom them trying to screw you over or treat you a certain type of way. And then all of a sudden, now you go through a divorce, they don't want you to have a dime. They want to see you suffer. And I'm just like, didn't you used to love this person at one point? Yes, I think women should be asking more important questions before saying I do. I think that we need to get more comfortable talking about money because money is a very taboo topic, right? And it brings a lot of like anxiety and fear to people because there's sometimes shame around money, right?
Yeah.
But I agree, especially if we're getting married older in life. People aren't just getting married right out of high school anymore, right? Because now we have the opportunity to go to college, get an education, do things because we realize there's more to life than just getting married and having babies and having a picket white fence, right? And
Mhm.
so that means we're getting married uh, later in life, which means we're coming into a marriage with assets. So to your point on the protections, if you're coming into the marriage with a 401k, with a bank account, with a car, with a home, whatever it may be, an inheritance, things that nature, there needs to be some type of wording around that that says that is yours. And despite the fact that y'all might be married for 5 or 10 years, that shouldn't all of a sudden give the other person access to things that you've built up before you got married.
Definitely. And it's so sad too when you see different things happen to people and then they're just shocked. You can be in a world of hurt that you never saw coming.
Exactly. Yes. And I am licensed in California, so that's also where a lot of my experience comes from too. Not only do I have my prenup queen, I have a course called Love Meets Wealth. So
Mm.
like love and money, trying to
Mhm.
combine that, right? I have spoken to other women because it's just having that conversation of you need to ask about X, Y, and Z, and then trying to figure out do you live in a community property state or do you live in an equitable distribution state, which just means fair. So even if it's a 50-50 split, it might not be a fair split given
Right.
each person's circumstances, right? So why would, for example, a stay-at-home mom take on 50% of the debt when her income is zero compared to someone who makes $200,000? Like that's
Mhm.
not fair. So why would she
Right.
have a 50-50 split? So yeah, part of the Love Meets Wealth course that we do is there's an education piece.
Definitely. Okay, so tell me more about the prenup queen cuz how are you educating people before they are actually getting married? What does that entail?
Yeah, it starts with the education. It starts with what state are you in? How does your state view y'all's assets and your debts once you say I do? Do you like that? Do you not? And then having a conversation with your fiance or maybe boyfriend at the time, but your future forever person. Having a conversation with them on do we like this? Do we not? Do we think this is fair for our situation or not? Because the government's rules, your state's marital laws are just cookie cutter rules. You can't make a law for literally every single marriage. So they did the best they could with their default rules. And
Mhm.
if you don't like them, change them through the prenup. So that's the education piece. Do we like this? Do we not? Do we want to change it? If we do, let's change it to this because that's fair to us based on what we're trying to do and build. And so it starts there. And then through that, there's a process of financial transparency. So laying it out on the table, like what is it that you're bringing into the marriage? What do you bring to the table? I know how people
Mhm.
feel. about that saying, but that's truly
Yeah.
what it is. Like, what assets am I bringing? What debts am I bringing? And then laying it out there and then creating a game plan. Okay, well, this is where we're at. This is where we want to be. And then reverse engineering. So that way you can literally craft the life that you two desire. But it
Mhm.
all just starts, the biggest component is communication.
Yes.
There's if you are so scared to communicate to your partner certain things, you're not yet ready to be married. That's
Mm,
where I stand. If you
I
can't
like
have
that.
certain discussions, you're not yet ready to be married. So let's work on it. And I feel like at this point I'm just talking about all the things that I have, but part of it also comes with money date cards for people who do not know how to have discussions, and
Mhm.
it's literally just a game. Pull it. Okay, what type of lifestyle do we want? Pull it. Okay, what do we think about debt? Pull it. Okay, where's our income now? Do we need to increase it to get to where we want to be? Just to spark these conversations to get them going because they're so necessary before tying that knot.
Yeah. You know how we are not taught certain things in high school, right? Like, we're not
Mm-hmm.
taught about finances. We're not taught about credit cards. We're not taught about, like, actual, even like sexual health that benefits us, right? I mean, there's so many things we're not taught about, yet then we have to take trigonometry that we'll never fucking use, you know?
Never
So,
use.
so that's what it's like. This all sounds like so logical and so common sense. But I also know that there are so many people, I would probably air to say the majority of people like don't have these conversations. Like, I mean, I know I've had
Yes.
conversations with friends before. How much money does he make? Oh, I don't know. You don't know? Like, how are you talking about marriage with this person when you don't even understand where they are financially or what they
Mm-hmm.
believe financially?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You would be surprised the amount of conversations that go left unhad because there I'm not trying to shame anybody by any means because I always give myself as an example. I'm in a relationship. I understand the desire for the lovey-dovey and to want to keep the romance and to keep that
Yeah.
alive and thinking that certain topics are going to destroy that or ruin that, or it might make the other person leave, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
my biggest thing was my student loan debt. I was so scared to say out loud, even to myself, how much I had in student loan debt because my thoughts were, does my partner want to marry someone who's six figures in debt? Like, because then that's going to affect him. Because once we're a unit, it's both of us. Like, what benefits me benefits him, and vice versa. What's a detriment to me is going to affect us as a whole. So there was moments where I was really scared to actually be honest about how much student loan debt I truly had because I thought he might leave. He
Mm.
didn't, right? He
Mhm.
didn't, thank God.
Yeah.
But that's also his call to make. Why would I lie to keep
Yeah.
someone here? Then then it just becomes an issue. But I agree. We're not taught a lot of things in school. We're just taught the basics. Um, but I do think there's actually a shift in things happening where like now they're teaching people like how to budget. Believe it
Mm,
or not,
uh-huh.
I taught my mom how to budget. She didn't know how to do any of this. She's like, Dev, I wish I knew the things you knew at this age. And my mom's in her 60s and
Yeah.
she was just skating by, doing the best she could possibly do, and she just really had no idea. So, while it might seem like common sense, and this is why I also think there's a lot of shame around money because people are just like, "I didn't know that." When they eventually learn it, of course, it feels like common sense, but you don't know what you don't know, and I think people are really scared to say that they really just didn't know, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to debt and especially when it comes to credit card debt.
Oh my gosh. I know every time I see one of those tables at, a college campus, it's like, get, and I just think, oh gosh, don't do it. Don't do it.
That was me. That was me
Yeah.
in college with my first credit card and racked that baby up without really understanding what I was doing. I was over
Yeah.
18, right? So I'm an adult now. I should know what I'm doing. Um, but racked that baby up and it affected me up until like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Like I really had to hire someone to help me in my credit because I wanted to buy a home, but then I had this charge on my credit report saying that like I never paid it, it was delinquent, all
Oh,
this stuff. So it affects you
it
going through
does.
life.
Yeah. No, those things can be crazy. I mean, God, I had a few years in my 20s where I had a ton of credit card debt. My credit score was in the toilet.
Credit scores is actually one of the things that I talk about because
Mhm.
nobody thinks to ask to figure out what their partner's credit score is. But I think it is one of the main things that needs to be known. Is I would say even before saying I do, but even if you waited, that's fine because you can always fix it. But your credit score will affect you. You want to buy a home and you're trying to buy a home with your
Mm,
partner, but their credit score
totally.
is not doing well, you're gonna have to wait. It's gonna
Yeah.
take some time. Or maybe you have higher interest rates. So yeah, you should 100% know everything that you're walking into so you understand the trajectory of pretty much your life or your journey moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So, as people are going through your whole process, are they going through it? Is this something that people are going through on their own, or are they working alongside it with you so they can ask relevant questions?
It's a course. So it's the Love Meets Wealth course, and it's broken up into different sections. So section 1 is understanding your state's laws. Section 2 is finding the vision, like talking about what is it that we actually want to build? Do we want a family? Do we want kids? Do we want to travel? Do we want to live abroad? Asking all that stuff and figuring out what the dreams are. Both individual dreams, because I think it's important for people to have their own hobbies, but also like their shared dreams. And then the financial part of putting it on the table, and then making a game plan to build the life that they want. So people can use me by setting aside like woman to woman time with me and figuring out like how to do certain things or how to have certain discussions because maybe their partner really doesn't like talking about money and they have to find a way to navigate that. So they can use me side by side, but the way the course is, and there's videos, there's written instructions, there's a whole workbook, it's geared so you don't have to depend on me, and I don't ever want anyone to depend on me, and that is something that I've especially learned being an attorney, especially dealing with people going through custody battles. It's like, "Deveney, I need you to tell him X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, that y'all are co-parents. I was here to help you get through the court process, but you can't depend on me to be the middle person. Like you're gonna have to learn how to communicate with this other person. So I
Yeah.
don't necessarily want people to depend on me. They can use me here and there or maybe bounce ideas off my head, like if they have investment questions, even though they know I'm not a financial advisor. But they can use me like that, but I never want to be relied upon because they're going to have to learn how to have these discussions with their person and learn how to figure out how to make those dreams come true.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think there's power in ownership. And also, too, I
Mhm.
mean, I feel like the discussions in and of themselves are delicate enough. So it's kind of like, okay, hey, look, we can use this as a guide and we can have these conversations in the privacy of our own home. And then, seek out further guidance if we actually feel like we need it. And so
Exactly.
then does that lead into then the prenuptial agreement discussions after they kind of go through all of that? This week's episode is brought to you by a challenge that I decided to start for the month of December. I am inviting all of you to join me on the Edit Out the Negativity Challenge. This challenge is open. You can literally join any day. There is no timeline or time limit. If you're here from the beginning or here on the very last day, I want you to start off 2026 with the same type of energy that I am starting the year with. So, what does that mean? We are getting clear on our goals, not just what we are going to do, but how we are going to do it. So, writing them down, becoming clear, mapping out your action steps so you can achieve everything you want to achieve in the new year. And then negativity. We are all guilty of being negative. So, what I'm doing is I'm writing down the different things that I'm finding myself being negative about, whether that's talking shit about somebody, getting frustrated over something that I have no control over, or anything else that happens to come my way. And I'm really taking a look and saying, why is this bothering me so much? Or why am I talking shit about this person? What can I do to change that? Then on December 30th, I'm going to have a live event. What we're going to do is we're all going to join, and together we're going to harness all of our energy. We're going to release the negativity, and we are going to welcome in all of the positive vibes for a new year and achieving all of our goals. So, link is in the show notes. Come and join me. I look forward to seeing you there.
Exactly. Yeah. So when they go through the entire process, at the end, do we want to memorialize it? That's literally all a prenup is. It's just
Mm-hmm.
memorializing everything that you've decided for your marriage. And if they want to memorialize it, they pretty much have a lot of it done with the workbook. It's just a matter of now, like, doing the formalities to make sure a prenup is a valid prenup. But they pretty much went through the whole process in figuring out what exactly they wanted with their marriage, seeing how the rules that they think are fair for their marriage are directly like contradicted by the laws of their state. So then
Mhm.
to make their marriage what they want it to be, they just have to get a prenup. It's really
Yeah.
nothing, it's nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't have to be, I think people hear prenup and just get scared. A marital contract. It's a
Yeah.
marital contract. There you go. And
Mhm.
just put it on paper, put it on in writing, get it notarized, make sure you hit the waiting period time, make sure it's signed before you get married. So it's an actual prenup. And it's really simple. I think we just overthink it.
You're so right, and I love the reframe as it's just a marital contract because, I mean, getting married is a contract, and then it gets filed with your state, and, I mean, I've told this story plenty of times on the show. I remember when my ex-husband and I filed for our marriage license, it was like $46, okay? This was
Hmm.
2012. When I filed for divorce in 2016, it was like $465, and I remember being like, that's a significant jump in cost
Hmm.
to do something over this piece of paper that we filed. And granted, yes, there are benefits, of course, to being legally married. But, for so many couples that get married and go through the whole formality and legality of it all, there are definite surprises that come along as if you decide that this is no longer in your best
Hmm.
interest to remain a couple.
Hmm. Yes, it's easier to get married than it is to get divorced. And I
Hmm.
think that's just because I think the society understands that it's better for people to be married than it is to be single. And that's why there's so many incentives for marriage. That's why it's
Hmm.
so enticing financially, emotionally, whatever, to get married. But the consequences of a divorce is literally debilitating for some people, like
Yeah.
life altering
Oh my
for a lot
gosh.
of people.
Absolutely. I mean, I've spoken with
Mhm.
women who have spent upwards of six figures on their divorce attorney, and I mean, even mine, which was fairly amicable, and I mean, it still cost thousands of dollars. It's
Mhm.
like, geez, if this was an easy one and it cost that much, like these difficult ones are even more expensive. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think needs to be done to kind of erase this stigma around prenups?
I think there just needs to be more education about it. And I think there needs to be like more shows on TV really
Hmm.
normalizing prenups, which I see in Love is Blind. I get people messaging me all the time. Did you see this episode where she's talking about a prenup? And I think too, even as the generations come, like millennials are starting to actually be like, we want prenup. We want
Yeah.
prenup. And the younger generations are actually starting to see the benefits of a prenup. And I will say, even unfortunately, a lot of people don't see the benefit of marriage. A lot of people are willing to forego marriage and just have, and just like cohabitate with the person,
Hmm.
which also comes with a lot of legal issues as well. Um, but I think there needs to be more education around prenup so
Yeah.
people understand that it's really not as scary as you think. Instead, it's actually a huge benefit the government is giving you. They're literally saying you don't like our rules, change it for your marriage, for your circumstances, because we just have a cookie cutter default rule because we can't account for literally every single marriage. Like they have
Yeah.
literally put the power back in our hands to govern our own marriages. And I think people just don't understand that because of how society has previously um, stigmatized prenups. It's
Mhm.
Kanye West's like, we want prenup because she's a gold digger
Mhm.
situation. Or
Right.
it's because he's so, uh, I'm so rich and I don't want someone to take all my money. Like, it's more than that. It is literally just two people having a conversation on what they think is fair for their marriage and then just putting it on a piece of paper. Like, it's
Yeah.
so simple.
Or you hear so many times too when the subject of a prenup gets brought up that the person's like, "Oh, what, you don't think we're going to make it, or you don't think you're going to want to stay married to me forever?" And it's like, "No, that's not it." And I think the way you reframe that and the way you said that is so spot on. It's just like, no, it's like the state saying, "Hey, look, you don't like our rules, go ahead and change them and file it so we know what you guys want if and when this time comes."
Mhm. And you don't even have to file it. So, at
Oh.
least in California, you don't even have to file it. It is a private document. And the only time that it needs to become a thing is if you go through a divorce or if someone passes and then now they're in probate court or something of that sort to say this is
Mhm.
what we decided, this was shared assets and debts, and this is what was individual assets and debts. Otherwise, it's
Okay.
a private document. It's just like a
Yeah.
trust. It's something
Okay.
that you only tuck away and use it if you need it. If creditors try to come after you guys because someone is like has outstanding debt and now they're trying to take community assets or whatever, then you can produce it and say, no, we have a prenup. This is not a community asset. This is my asset. You cannot touch this. So it can be so beneficial. But again, it's just that educational piece. And to go back to the point where people say, so you're already thinking about divorce. Like, sir, the divorce rate is extremely high. Just about one in two
Right?
people get
Yeah.
divorced. So I mean, I don't even know how to explain that to people. It's like if we're in a room of 10 people, 5 of y'all are getting divorced. 5 of y'all getting
Definitely.
divorced. And that's just the divorce rate. It's like 40 to 50% for first time marriages. And then the divorce rate increases with every subsequent marriage. So it's like in the 60s for second time marriages. And then it's like 73% for third time marriages.
Mm.
So for whatever reason, we're just not learning our lesson. And we just continue to divorce with every subsequent marriage that we have. So I just think if people would sit down and have these important conversations and create better foundations for their marriage, it would help lower the divorce rate.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I feel like every time I have one of these conversations on the show about some of these topics, it's like at the end of the day, it always all boils down to communication
Yes.
and being able to have the conversation. And I mean, it is unfortunate because I mean, I certainly know how it feels to be sitting across from somebody and be nervous and being like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say this. I don't want to have this conversation. But it's like, I feel like and once you get on the other side of it, it's so much better because then you're like, "Oh, okay, like, now we know that we're aligned." I mean,
Yeah.
I especially if for anyone younger that's listening, right? Like, I think as you get older, like, I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm pretty clear on where I'm at, on what I'm doing, on, anything
Mhm.
that could be in my life in the future as far as, like, inheritance or anything like that. So, it would be very easy for me to just be like, "Hey, look, like, I'm coming into this with what's mine, you're coming into this with what's yours. Like, I don't need your stuff. You don't need my stuff, period." But if you're younger and you're listening to this, like these conversations are so important to have
Mhm.
because you could find out that maybe this person that you think you want to spend your life with actually has completely different goals or completely different idea of financial like health than you do.
Exactly. Exactly. Or you find out they don't believe in investing. They find out
Yeah.
they're just a YOLO situation and you're someone who's like, "No, I want a 401k. I want to be able to retire at 65." And the other person could literally care less. So now you have to figure out because usually the people that you hang around with are going to influence you the most. And you're going to hope that you end up being the good influence, but what if they influence you? So, yes, if you are not aligned, you either have to have a really hard conversation with that person and find the middle ground, or you have to be willing to say, this isn't my person, and then
Mhm.
find someone that is most aligned with you. So, and I understand how hard that can be, but I also promise whoever is listening, if you know someone isn't meant for you, let them go. Let
Yes.
them go. It will benefit your life because if you are with the wrong person, it can ruin you. And I am talking from experience, both financially and emotionally. Like I've had to deal with someone who has put their hands on me,
Mhm.
and I never would have imagined them to do that. But I knew early on they weren't aligned, and I kept thinking like it might get better, or I can help this person, and I can change them, and there's so much potential. And if you know they are not for you, let them go.
Mhm.
Let them
I
go.
mean, plus one to knowing that you cannot change somebody. I mean, I look back on someone that I dated in my late 20s thinking that I was going to just be able to like whip him into shape and he was going to just turn into this vision of the man that I wanted to be. And 20 years later, he looks exactly the same and he found someone that he's doing life with. And I'm like, hey, good for you. Because, and then I laugh at myself thinking that I had that I was going to be able to
Any
change
control.
somebody from
Yeah.
exactly who they are. And
Mhm.
absolutely not. I think that with finances, I'm not saying we can change people, but I do think that people can evolve once they learn and once they know better. Um,
Yes.
I mean, because I've certainly seen people that have been in my life who have done total 180s from a financial perspective once they like kind of got their shit together and thought, oh, okay, wait, I'm going to learn about this. I'm going to learn about that. I'm going to learn about that. So I don't know. From a relationship perspective, though, I think that's fun. I mean, when you get on the other side of the uncomfortable conversation, but then it's
Mhm.
like, hey, we know our goals now. We know where we want to go. We know how we want
Exactly.
to do it. And then you have a partner to celebrate savings goals with, to celebrate, bigger like promotions or work things where you're like, oh my God, we worked for this. Or when you finally get to
Mhm.
put a down payment down, you're like, hell yeah, we did that together.
Yes.
So I think there's so many more wins on the prenup side than they get credit for. Poor prenups just get a bad rap.
It's okay. They're coming around. It is coming around. They're starting to become more normalized. And so I just hope more women hop on that train and actually
Mhm.
see what the benefits are. Because, like you said, there is actual love and joy and happiness on the other side after you have those conversations. The only reason why they're usually super uh, scary is because we don't know what the other side looks like. It's so unknown.
Of
But
course.
half the time, at least when I've done it, I've felt so much relief because I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like,
Mhm.
oh, it really wasn't that bad. I was just freaking myself out. So
Yeah.
really, it's our own mental obstacles that are keeping us from having these hard conversations. But
Oh my
once you
God.
start doing it, it just becomes a little bit easier each time.
Oh, yeah, 1000%. I mean, our minds are our biggest, like, they're our best and worst enemy at times, right? It's like our best
Literally.
friend and then our worst enemy when we sit and, like, it's like those 3 a.m. scaries where you're sitting there and you're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, wait, it'll be okay.
That's how it happens every time.
Definitely. So, if you had to give like your best piece of advice as far as like financial health goes within relationships, what would that be?
That's a really good question. I would probably say measure it. Whatever y'all decide to do, measure it. And I say that because, and I just say that because I listen to audiobooks a lot,
Uh-huh.
and I was listening to one. I can't remember what it was called, but he had said, "What you measure matters."
Mm,
And that could be from anything, whether it's financial, whether it's relationship wise, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, like working out, things like that. But what you measure matters. So if something's really important to you, like, and it as a goal, write it down and then
yeah.
measure it and make sure you're keeping track with it. Follow up every month at a minimum to see where you're at when it comes to your goals. Whether, like for me, my debt payoff for my student loans. I might be obsessed a little bit over it because I check every week. I look at it
Hey,
every week,
data, I
but
love data. I obsessively look at data
same.
too. So you're preaching to the choir.
I am a data girl. I love looking at numbers, but
Mhm.
also I love seeing the progress because I know what I'm trying to achieve. So do it together with your person. I as I turned, my person walked in the door about
Uh-huh.
30 minutes ago. Um but no, we do it together and we have like our own little money dates, or I'll pull up my Excel spreadsheet and we'll work through the numbers together. But that's also super important for me because safety is important for me. And then he understands that. And we have our goals, our vision to get to what looks like safety for me because that's what I need. And I like seeing those numbers. So just measure it.
I think that is such fantastic advice because, I mean, let's relate it to something else, right? So, say you want to get in shape, say you want to lose
Hmm.
5 pounds, say you want to gain some muscle and have, stronger arms. Like, that's something that you're going to measure. So, maybe you're going to measure your food so you're not overeating, so you can lose that 5, 10 pounds. Maybe you're going to track
Hmm.
how much weight you're lifting at the gym because you want to grow your muscles.
Exactly.
So you want to see, like, okay, last week I was lifting 10-pound weights. This week I've got 12-pound weights. Like, that's a measuring of increase. So I think that's such perfect advice to give to people as they're out there on these financial journeys. Okay,
Yes.
so last question for you. Is there any story that you could share that should frighten somebody into saying, okay, I want to have a financial conversation?
Mm. I can give I can give an example of one of my losses that still eats at me today from court because I'm a divorce attorney, right?
Yes.
And the story there is that I represented the wife. And granted, she was a hard worker. They had conversations on how they want their assets and debts to be treated. So like she's always been like this is my credit card, these are my debts, I'll take care of it. And same thing with him, right? And they only had a joint account, so like paying household bills. And when we were going through the divorce process, we just had trial. And the husband racked up $20,000 on the credit card. Even though the agreement, and I explicitly told her, I'm like, look, this is technically community and y'all don't have a prenup. I understand y'all said this is how we've always ran our marriage, but absent a prenup, you could be stuck with half of this credit card debt. That's $10,000 you're stuck with. And she was like, oh, like he won't do that. That's never how he wouldn't do that to me. That's exactly what he did to her. That is exactly what he did to her. Despite the fact that they had the conversations, despite the fact that they've even went through their like 12 plus years of marriage handling finances that way, the court was like, but these are the laws. So I
Yeah.
have to split it like it's treated like it's a community debt subject to a 50-50 split, despite
Yeah.
everything else. There's no prenup. So she got stuck with a $10,000 credit card bill that she had to pay. And it wasn't even a $10,000 credit card bill that she had to pay. She had to give him $10,000 to pay it off. And what's he going to do with that?
And who
Who
knows if he
knows,
even
right?
did it? Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Mhm.
that is so brutal. And also too, I mean, and do you agree with this that so many of these laws, like this is another plus one for prenups because so many of the laws in probably every state are so antiquated and they were designed at the time when, like you said earlier, most of the women were stay-at-home moms. And so all of these different community property, 50-50, alimony, different levels of child support were created because women were not working. They were not breadwinners. They were not coming into the marriage being financially secure and financially stable. And now,
Mhm.
I mean, we are in a time where like entrepreneurship is everywhere you turn. There are people making businesses out of the most creative things every single day and
Right.
coming to relationships with their own financial health. So,
Mhm.
it's just another reason why these conversations are so important and why having that piece of paper and that agreement written out can really benefit you should something end up not the way you had hoped.
Exactly. I agree with everything that you said. I mean, you pretty much wrapped it up with the last part about the prenup. But yeah, these are all laws, and laws take a really long time to change as society changes. They're lagging. And so I
Yeah.
would never want to rest or put all my faith in the laws of the state,
Mhm.
especially when they gave us the power to make our own rules.
Yeah. Well, Deveney, this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise and wisdom and ways of making prenups not sound so scary. And tell everybody where they can reach you to take advantage of your Love and Wealth course and make sure that they're setting themselves up for success, regardless of how the relationship turns out.
Yeah, so everyone can find me on Instagram at the Prenup Queen. And then as far as the course goes, you can just go to www.love meets wealth, wealth.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was a treat to talk with you.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of
Well,
fun.
thank you for joining this week's episode of the Scarlet Edit. I am so honored that you come back every week and listen to the show. It truly means the world. If you like this episode, please go on Apple and rate it 5 stars. And if you wanted to leave a comment on why you like the show so much, that would be appreciated too. If you haven't already, you should come and follow along on Instagram at thescarlet.edit. And if you are a TikToker like me, come on over to TikTok. There's more fun and randomness that goes on over there too. My handle is at Nikki_Corbett_. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next week.